Hello and welcome to Stroke by Stroke. Today I am going to do something very different than what I've done in the past. I am actually going to start with ink tense pencils, and I'm going to do something that is just geometric. And so I'm starting with the Madder Brown pen or pencil, and I am dipping it in water first, and then I'm just gonna come in here and create some shapes that I really enjoy making. Well, that wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. Okie dokie then. Didn't expect that. When you put water on your pencil, you have to be careful. Okay. So yes, it's always an adventure doing something different. And so I am just setting these shapes however I want. And I really like curvy shapes. So that is what I'm doing. And now I'm going to come here with a smaller brush and just water. And I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to wet this down a little bit. And since this is ink, it's going to create more permanent lines. And the reason I wet the pencil before making the lines was so that it would make a darker line than just regular dry pencil drawing. You don't have to use the water first, but I wanted to, so I did. And I am using a 1/8 angled flat brush. And if you've seen any of my other videos, you will see where I talk about different colors and how they make me feel. And the reds they make me feel uncomfortable, probably because they're so intense. I also have issues with anger and being able to truly feel anger. And red is a very angry color to me. It's a very active color, and it feels threatening. So I'm actually going to lean into that in this particular image, because one thing I've discovered is if it's something I resist, then it's probably something I need to look at. And since I have a very strong emotional reaction to reds, I think there's something in there for me to learn. So I'm going to do that. Okay. And so, and now I'm just gonna put a paper towel across and just blot it. There we go. Okay. And you'll see here, I'm gonna change the angle just a little bit. There we go. You'll see I have kind of an outline. And now I'm gonna come over here to my big palette, to my M. Graham watercolors. And I am going to use this part, which is my reds, my browns, and my oranges and yellows. So I'm just going to lean into my discomfort. So and this website is very different from just about all that I have seen in terms of art, because they're usually tutorials. And sometimes I do tutorials, but really the purpose of this website, Stroke by Stroke, is I am chronicling my own journey of healing through art. So I am very much doing art as therapy. And the reason that I started Stroke by Stroke, at least when I came up with the initial idea after spending about a week, it was 6 days, in a hospital in New Mexico from having had a stroke. I wanted to use art therapy to help me get better from my stroke. And of course, I am not working with an art therapist, so I'm not technically doing art therapy, but even if it's not quote unquote real art therapy, it is art as therapy, which I think is a wonderful thing. I do work with a therapist, not an art therapist, that helps me. One thing that, you know, I've always had mental health issues here and there, anxiety, depression, and I'm pretty sure that I've always had the ADHD. But I also have a lot of PTSD. And I have discovered that art makes it easier to explore things that I don't really necessarily have words for. It's why I became an art therapist in the first place. Because I know how helpful it is for me. And I figured it would help other people, and it did until I was no longer able to do it. So, and there's Walter, my furnace, coming in to join the conversation. He's a loudmouth. Anyway, yeah. So it just seemed like a natural fit for me that I would gravitate toward art to help me when I was really struggling to dealing with basically suddenly finding myself disabled. Yeah. And I say suddenly, it happened in stages. It happened when I got COVID in 2022. But you know, I had suicidal ideation prior to that, throughout my life. But COVID was a 1-2 punch on mental and physical health issues. And so, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about being disabled, and what that means. And one thing that keeps going through my mind a lot is the word invalid. It means invalid, really, you know, that you are disabled. And to me, that's just terrible messaging to give to folks who find themselves unable to do things maybe they used to be able to do. And it just invalidates what people are still able to do. And yeah, I don't really go with that very well. It doesn't sit well with me. So I am creating a world that allows exploration through art of the feelings that I have about how I suddenly find myself in a very, very different situation than I've ever been. So, yeah. And so I make art. And I figured if it was helping me, it might help somebody else. And so that's why I'm doing this channel. And I hope it helps other people. But frankly, I'm doing this more for myself than other people. I just thought it would be nice to take somebody else along with me on the ride. So if you're here, thank you. Welcome. I appreciate your being here. And I'm going to make the art and the videos because I want to document this process for myself, you know? And I'm happy to have you join me. So yeah, there's that. And yeah, this is a really different kind of picture than what I usually do. And it's interesting how I broke through here in the very center and over here instead of staying within the cells like I had been. As I was talking, yeah, it's absolutely fascinating to me that that happened. And I kind of love it. So yeah, leaning into discomfort. I have, for quite some time now, used very maladaptive coping skills to deal with my discomfort. Shopping addiction, basically impulsivity, you know. Shopping addiction, I cannot save money no matter how hard I try. It's not a conscious choice on my part. Oops. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna do that. There's no way I would choose to have the issues that I live with, but it's where I am. And I am the kind of person that once I decide I'm going to do something, I kind of go 100% into it. Yeah. And so here we are. And I switched a while ago when I started coloring things in here. I switched to my round brush. And this is a size 9. And I'm going to stay with it. Okay. And yeah, the colors are running together because I'm in the I'm on my slanted table. So there we go. One of my cats, of course, is trying to hark up a hairball as I'm painting. You're not going to get the nice, tidy studio experience stroke by stroke. You're going to get, I live and paint in the same space, and so, yeah. And I have 6 cats. So yeah. And in this, as I'm looking at it and thinking about creating this and what I'm seeing and what I'm doing, it's fascinating to me how things are blending. I started with compartments, very discrete compartments that I had drawn, and then starting here in the middle, they really started blending in to each other. And that is absolutely fascinating to me. And you know, that kind of fits with like thinking about my trauma and other issues. They don't, I try to compartmentalize them, but they don't really do that very well. One thing blends into another until it becomes like one thing. It's a little more art therapy-ish. But that's a good visual representation of something that I think I've been thinking about. I just didn't necessarily have words for. And that's, if you're doing art therapy, that's a big thing. At least my experience was that over time, you will begin to see patterns and it will tell a story, your story. And it will often show you things that you just don't have words for yet. And then through the art, I can begin to find words. And then if I can describe it, I can understand it better. Because the scariest thing in the world is the unknown. So, my lesson in this one is that in that looking for control, those lines, and I chose a reddish brown, so I was going into my discomfort a little bit, but not completely, because brown is safe, red is not. But I chose ink pencils as opposed to like watercolor pencils. Ink pencils, once you wet it, it becomes very permanent. And so I created these very permanent cells using shapes that are very comfortable to me. And then I set around adding water to them to set them. And then I started going through the reds first, which was really uncomfortable, coming down into the browns, which are perfectly fine. But as I left the red is when I accidentally went across the line and it started bleeding one thing into another. And so the orange I have a love-hate relationship with. Yellow is a color of power to me. So it was as I was doing the really powerful colors in this image, and it was really bleeding, and I added more lines because I wanted more cells, things started getting very blurry. So being in my power place, I was able to actually have space to explore letting these compartments dissolve and letting the discomfort in and helping me find words for it. And that's art therapy right there. I can do that for myself. That is perfectly fine. I would never do this with somebody else anymore because I am not a licensed art therapist. And doing therapy without a license is both unethical and illegal. So if you find something like this to be something you might want to do with another person, I really recommend you look for an art therapist, because it is the way to get to that pre-verbal state of your emotions and be able to take the pre-verbal into the verbal, like I just did. So, I didn't exactly set off to do an art therapy session on myself today, but by leaning into the thing that I was resisting, it brought space for me to comfortably be uncomfortable. So, wow. There you go. I highly recommend you can go to the American Art Therapy Association to get more information. And I highly recommend that if you aren't able to find words for things, look for an art therapist, you know? Okay, well, I'm gonna leave this session, listen to that, this video that turned into a self-session, and do what makes you happy in whatever way you are able. And I hope this was a helpful thing for you to watch, because it certainly was helpful for me to create. Okay, this is Seeing Sideways, and I really appreciate your time, and I will catch you in the next video.